Hello and welcome once again to another Engage Arlington virtual learning series dealing with the Amazon announcement. I'm Kara O'Donnell and I'll be your host this evening. This is the fourth in our series about Amazon. Tonight we'll be dealing specifically with the questions surrounding schools, education, and the workforce. And as you can see, we've assembled quite a panel of subject matter experts, including Dr. Patrick Murphy from Arlington Public Schools, Dr. Deb Crawford from George Mason University, Dr. Jeanne from Marymount University, and directly to my right is Victor Hoskins from Arlington Economic Development to kind of tie everything together as we talk about some of the issues surrounding the announcement. So we have a lot to get into tonight. For those of you joining us online, be sure to ask your questions in the chat box on your Facebook page. And while you're there, introduce yourself to us. Tell us where you're from or which organization you represent. And we're, of course, going to try to get to as many questions as we can on the topic at hand. So we have a lot to get into with some questions that have already been submitted to us. But before we do that, Victor, we're going to start with you with just kind of an overview, big picture. For anyone who has not heard what has happened in the last month or so, and I cannot believe that it's already been a month since the announcement, give us the big picture. What happened?
Okay, so we actually won one of the largest economic development deals in the history of the country, and Amazon is committed to bring 25,000 new technology jobs to the Northern Virginia region. Fortunately, they will be in Arlington, and we can certainly use them since we lost 17,000 out of Crystal City alone in the last decade or so. And they also committed to invest $2.5 billion in terms of capital. And as a companion to that, the state of Virginia has committed to really build a technology pipeline. We do have great engineering degreed and technology degreed people in our region, but that pool may not be enough. And given not just Amazon, but the other companies in our region, we really need to grow that. So the state is going to invest up to, looks like about $1 billion working with GMU, working with Virginia Tech, working with the schools to build that pipeline from the schools through the community colleges, through the universities, to the jobs. So that's really kind of in a nutshell what it is. And by the way, the Virginia Tech campus is going to be in Alexandria. Alexandria was our partner in this process. They were a tremendous partner. And as George Mason University will be expanding on an existing site in Arlington, which is a very beautiful site.
Yeah, very excited about that.
Well, we've got a lot of questions about that tech pipeline, and we're going to get to that in just a minute. But Dr. Murphy, I want to start off with you. We've been hearing from a lot of our Arlingtonian residents throughout this process who are concerned. They're parents who have kids in school, and they are saying, they hear that 25,000 jobs number, and they're concerned. They're concerned about our schools are already at capacity. What does this announcement mean for Arlington Public Schools?
Well, I want to first say thank you, Victor. We very much appreciate the work of your team as well as you and what has happened here. I think this is extremely positive and a great opportunity for Arlington and the citizens here, so much appreciated. Coupled with that, I think there's a couple of things you need to kind of put on the table. The first is these 25,000 new employees, many of them may be already here. They're coming over the next 12 years. So this is going to be very incremental as far as what that looks like. I think our staff has also worked very closely with the county staff, and what we know based on some history is about 15 to 20% of the employees that work here in Arlington actually live here in Arlington. And so when we look at what our projections are telling us, we're looking at somewhere between about 73, 75 to 98 students adding into what is our existing pipeline. We've also got 10-year projections that are out there. So a lot of this is driven by housing, and we see a lot of students still coming from single-family homes. So a lot of this is already built in, and based on what we're seeing, we are not going to continue at the pace that we've experienced here over the last 10 years. So, I think this will work. we're going to have to make some adjustments and pay attention to it. The key, I think, is watching the housing types and very closely monitoring it. I think both county and the school staffs are on that.
And of course, we'll have a housing discussion coming up with our next virtual learning series, so a little bit of foreshadowing there. And you mentioned that 70 to 90 students. Now, that's not per school, correct? That is district-wide.
Right, and I know there's been a variety of things that have been passed around by that. It would be great if kids came in nice little units and they distributed, geographically. But that's pre-K through 12, and so depending on geography, depending on age group, we may see some pockets, but I know there was a number touted that there would be approximately this number of students. It unfortunately doesn't work that way. It's not nice, neat, and tidy.
Okay, so it's more of a wait and see, but again, this is a very gradual process over the next decade to 12 years, so it's going to be a very gradual increment, correct?
Right. And based on the housing that's out there, we've actually got a lot of these numbers already built into what our projections are. So we've got a pretty good eye on it. We are going to have to watch housing types and housing as that market continues to grow.
Okay, well, thanks for that. Now, Dr. Crawford, Dr. Matthews, you're both on the higher end scale of things. Looking at that future workforce, that tech pipeline that Victor mentioned, can you share a little bit about what this announcement means for both your specific institutions and for kind of higher education in Northern Virginia in general? Dr. Crawford, I'll start with you.
Sure, absolutely. So at Mason, we were super excited about the Amazon deal. Yes, thank you, Victor. Mason's already filling the tech talent pipeline in many ways. We have 5,000 students, undergraduate students enrolled in our computing programs today, and expect to double the number of students by 2024. The computing programs are our fastest growing programs, so there's already a lot of interest in the region from students and their families in these types of careers, because everybody hears about sort of how much opportunity there is for a tech career. So yeah, very exciting. We're also super excited about the research and innovation possibilities that come with Amazon, the possibility to really diversify the innovation economy in Northern Virginia. We have an innovation economy very focused on the federal market. Amazon brings a fresh look at the commercial market space, and hopefully a lot of other interesting companies will follow Amazon to the region to create more opportunities for our students and our faculty research.
Dr. Matthews.
Thank you. I would say the same is true, building on what you've said. With regard to Marymount, we have a well-established IT and cybersecurity programs within the School of Business and Technology. These programs are already in place. They're ready to go. We are excited to have the opportunity to assist Amazon if its employees are interested in getting additional degrees or advanced degrees in these tech fields. But we think it's also important to look at beyond the tech issues that when organizations are successful, they're in communities that meet a variety of needs. And so just as we have students and opportunities in technology, we have opportunities in the liberal arts and humanities and design fields, certainly in health professions. When Amazon, its employees and its families come in, we have education students who will be their teachers. We have counselors who will be providing mental health needs, physical therapists and nurses who are meeting the demands of the healthcare workforce. So we think there's a wonderful opportunity for collaboration that will benefit both the university and Amazon.
Stepping aside from Amazon for just a second, what kind of trends are you seeing at the college and university level right now in terms of STEM education overall?
So certainly our STEM programs are our fastest growing programs at Mason. So if you look 5 years ago, they accounted for about 34% of the undergraduate population. Today they account for about 45% of the undergraduate population, and our undergraduate population is growing at around 700 net students a year. So these are really significant increases in those programs, and I think it's largely a result of the job opportunities that students and their families see in those types of career fields.
I would agree. We see the same thing. These are wonderful opportunities for students, and we see significant growth in both our undergrad and our grad programs that provide opportunities. Marymount has a history of providing practical education to women. That's how it was founded. We have a significant number of women in those fields as well that will help to meet some of the diverse workforce needs, as well as the population that looks just like the population in the region. We have a very diverse student body, and these opportunities allow them to move into STEM fields that are wonderful career paths.
So this pipeline concept really comes at a perfect time. In other words.
Absolutely,
It does.
absolutely.
Okay. Victor, let's give a little bit of context on the investment in education that specifically the Commonwealth of Virginia is really making in education.
Yeah, the state of Virginia, as part of this economic development package, actually crafted a program where they would match dollar for dollar any university in the state for programs to expand the number of people in cybersecurity, data analytics, artificial intelligence, all the growing fields, robotics, robotic design, digital design. These are all areas that are growing, needed desperately in our region. Actually, the last number that I heard, there are about 130,000 jobs that are open in our region in the field, in these technological fields. So there is a need for them, but there was not a catalyst. This became the catalyst for that. I think that's where I think that Marymount and and GMU and Virginia Tech, they all realize that this is an opportunity to do something special. And what the special is to double the number of degrees that are being produced in the region over the next 15 to 20 years. And that doubling really continues to keep us competitive. And this is not just for Amazon. This is for any businesses that's involved in technology. About half the jobs at Amazon will be technology jobs. The other half will be lobbying, marketing, product design, all the things that normal companies, produce. And then the other part will be, the AI, the artificial intelligence, the data analytics.
Right. And how about on the K through 12 side? Because I know there are education investments not just at the higher level, but all from kindergarten on.
So there's an amount of money that's been set aside, specifically for K through 12. It's being spread all over the entire state. So I know that's not gonna have the same impact as what's happening with like the tech campuses and with this matching program. So what we're hoping will happen is GMU and Marymount will work with our K through 12, and we create more of an integration between Dr. Murphy's work and their work on the far beginning end of the line at like the sophomore and junior year, as opposed to waiting until they graduate and then trying to place them in a degree program. Let them get some additional learning at the universities, but also pair that with some learning in the workforce. So we got a lot of work to do to design this. This doesn't exist anywhere in the country, but if we can do it, it'll be modeled around the world.
Wow. Dr. Murphy, what kind of preliminary, discussions have you had with maybe your staff or what have you in terms of what could be done at APS with this kind of program?
Sure. So let me give you a little bit of backdrop and talk a little bit about some things we already have in place. Our kids are very excited about the STEM and STEAM and coding and all those types of things. So our schools have already begun to really kick a lot of those things off. We also have a number of schools that are evolving. Most recently, the Charles Drew model, which has reestablished its neighborhood school and footprint and has a STEAM vision. So that's exciting that we see happening. And we also have a variety of enrichment programs, either after school or during the summer. So there's a nice groundswell around all of this. I know we have the tech campus in Alexandria, and I know we also have George Mason here in Arlington. But one of the things that I've already talked to some of my colleagues in K through 12 about is there a way that some of the jurisdictions in the area, Falls Church, Arlington, Alexandria can really partner for what that tech campus ultimately looks like. Now I know that was Alexandria's, that was their part of this, but I also see there's a need and an interest, and how those conversations, I think, develop would be essential. We also have, at our secondary level, we have Arlington Tech, which is growing at leaps and bounds, and Margaret Chung over there is doing just a fabulous job with her team. But that is really beginning to gain some momentum. I want to go back, though, on something you said, and Victor, stop me if my numbers are wrong, but I was at the forum a couple weeks ago, and they were talking about, well, there's going to be 25,000 Amazon employees coming here. And someone stood up and said, and they're going to need to be, more people that support those people that come in. Absolutely. So the diversification is huge. And I think for us, we're looking at that to say, we know we have kids that are interested in technology or growing that skill, but we also see this as a big venue for children to look and explore. And so it's a little bit like a ripple on a lake. How is that going to play itself out? And my advocacy has also been around pre-K. How do we start? How does the community begin to really make that investment now for pre-K? Because a rising tide raises all boats, and I want that conversation to really gain some momentum as well, and something that we can talk about as we move forward.
Okay. And how about in terms of that kind of syncing up between the K through 12 and the higher ed educations, here in Arlington and throughout Northern Virginia and beyond, quite frankly, in terms of making that kind of seamless transition that, Victor, you spoke about? Or have there been any discussions so far in terms of how that might present itself?
Well, something that's just happened, and I think it's a great model, is Northern Virginia Community College with George Mason has just kicked off Advance, and that's an excellent example of the linkage between high schools, between community colleges, and then between universities, and they are making sure those children move through and graduate. And so credit to Scott Rawls out at Nova, and then also Angel Cabrera to put that in place. And they're looking for that to really grow. You may know more about it than I do, but I went out to that event, and I think it points in another model or another direction that we can copy and build off of.
So I could add a little about that. Mason supports a program called the Early Identification Program.
That's another one. Exactly.
We work with students from 8th grade through 12th grade. We have about 600 students enrolled in the program, and it's to mentor and coach students who will be first in their families to go to college, to make sure that they make it from 8th grade all the way through higher education. Not all the students stay in Virginia to go to college. A number leave the state, find opportunities sort of all over the country. But an amazing program with amazing impact. I think we've supported more than 2,000 students have graduated with their bachelor's degrees, having started in the early identification program, and a very diverse student population, and affecting students in many of the counties in Northern Virginia. So it's an example of something that can be scaled.
And Dr. Murphy, you touched on the things going on at the Arlington Career Center. For folks who really don't know, I had the opportunity to visit the Career Center maybe 2 years ago, and I was blown away.
Right.
I'll be quite frank. I was blown away with some of the programs and some of the things the students were doing there. Can you just give us a little bit of a look into the courses of study that students have there at the Career Center, specifically in these areas?
The Career Center has a variety of different activities that are going on there, and what that is it's centrally located, but it offers a variety of career and technical and different trade opportunities that students can pursue. So it feeds from our high school programs, and students go there, come in and out during the day. We also have full-day programs there that our students attend. And we transition about 900 students, 900 to 1,000 students in and out of that. There's 3 blocks during the day, and they go there for a variety of things from culinary arts to cosmetology, and so auto mechanics, just a variety of different activities that go on. But coupled with that, that's also where Arlington Tech is housed, and that's been a program that's progressively growing. It's, again, project-based learning, which aligns itself with the profile of a Virginia graduate. And so students are getting a little bit of a different experience there with many of the activities that they're engaged in. They're collaborating, they're communicating, they're working together, critical thinking, lots of creativity, and it emulates to some degree what the workforce, what all of us do in the workforce here. And so we're really preparing them for that transition. A lot of them will be ready to step into careers, but a lot of them see this as a different type of an experience, as an asset, as they may pursue post-secondary. So yes, we encourage folks to come out. There's a lot of exciting things going on there, very talented people, and the program is growing.
It was really impressive. I just have to say, I walked into, I think, their broadcast production studio.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness!
Pretty amazing.
It was incredible.
But I wanted to add that I know our physical therapy students have
therapy,
a
yes,
collaboration
yes.
with
EMT.
students over there, and that serves as a wonderful model to apply to some of these other areas that we've not yet addressed.
I think the other linkage that we're seeing is how do students transition into the workforce? How are we preparing them? And then how are they getting these different experiences and preparing them for those transitions? So, with automotive, we have a great partner who really supports our kids and has done that for years. So that's a big success story. But the culinary program is also growing as another example, and that fits in. So we're always looking for partnerships. We're always looking for experiences for our students.
Okay. Let's segue a little bit into the workforce angle. We've heard, throughout these learning sessions and throughout some of the in-person kind of town hall type meetings that we've had, community listening sessions on this topic, and we've heard a lot of concern from the community about that kind of anecdotal, if you will, lack of diversity in the tech field in general. Now, Dr. Matthews, you specifically mentioned the diverse student body. What are some of the avenues we're taking to really encourage that diversity in the tech workforce and the future tech workforce with that pipeline?
Right. I think part of that is being a university that embraces diversity. I think that's important. At this time, Marymount is actually a minority campus. And so those opportunities exist in every program we have, whether you look at the health professions programs, you look at design, arts and humanities, science, math, and education, or you look to the School of Business. That is a wonderful opportunity for us. These students have outcomes, and first-gen students, we have many of those. Good outcomes, what they need is an environment where there is respect for all people and where there's opportunity that every student can take advantage of. And I think that's one of the things that we've grown from that heritage of practical education for women and transformed that into practical education. Not just professional, but built on a strong foundation of liberal arts. We haven't really addressed yet some soft skills and communication needs, some of the other skills certainly that everyone needs in the workplace, and how to develop those things. And I think that's certainly something that is open to all of our students.
Did you have anything to add on that, Dr. Crawford?
It's also true that Mason is a minority school as well. I think it largely reflects the demographics of the region and the fact that this is a welcoming place for students from all walks of life. So, and that reflects in the engineering and sort of tech programs as well. I recently joined Mason about 2 years ago, and I am an engineer by training. And I remember sitting on the stage at my first Mason graduation ceremony. It was the graduates for the Volgenas School of Engineering, and I was astonished by the diversity of the graduating class. And it filled me with great pride because because for so long, and certainly with respect to gender diversity in engineering and computer science, there have been real challenges nationally. To see such a diverse student body was truly sort of heartwarming. So yes, we're making great strides. And we pride ourselves on diversity and inclusion, right? And it attracts a lot of students accordingly.
Okay. Well, we have a question here from Melissa, who wants to know what Arlington as a community plans to kind of help foster that town gown type relationship. You hear about that in pretty much every university town that's out there, but kind of to foster that collaboration between the university and the community. What are some of the things that are already being done, plus the possibilities that exist here with this announcement?
So I think certainly Mason prides itself on community engagement, right? And the degree to which we're out working with our partners in the community is very significant. More than 50% of our undergraduate students do practicums. And so that means they're out working in businesses and in the schools and in the healthcare points of care locations, working with the community. And so I don't actually know that I see any of the universities in Northern Virginia as really sort of town and gown establishments, right? I do actually believe we're deeply integrated into the communities in the region.
And I would agree with that. Marymount has a long-standing commitment to the community, and all of our undergrads are required to do an internship. So because of that, they are in many different types of community settings. We have initiatives with the community that we are very happily engaged in. Just a couple of those, one in collaboration with our physical therapy program and the community, something called Go Baby Go, which retrofits little motorized vehicles for children who have mobility challenges. We have.
You know where that came out?
I do.
Where did it come out?
Well, let's share.
I do.
Where did it come from?
So it's interesting. We have a collaboration, as I mentioned before, with tech. We have partners at the University of Delaware, where that was really created, and we have a lot of partners in the community that we provide these opportunities to.
Our kids at the Career Center
Yeah,
were
that's
directly
exactly
involved in.
That's exactly right. They help build the cars.
That's right.
And that is something that the students love to do. The community benefits from. The cars are donated, and the Marymount students, and certainly the students in Arlington, collaborate to retrofit those vehicles and then present them to young people out in the community who need them. In addition to that, we have a design-a-thon every year that really gets cross-disciplinary engagement, and we choose a complex community problem, invite the community in, and faculty, students, and the community work on creating a solution to that problem. I think that sometimes these events don't get perhaps as much publicity as they might, and so it's very possible that people don't know they exist to a certain extent. So that's something certainly we can work on. But I think there's a long history of that here.
I would say that your campus, your new extension of your campus, your MBA school and the residents, that site, that whole site development process, you had the whole community around there involved in the design, and in the way that you preserve the history and the culture of that area, I thought was pretty phenomenal. And I know George Mason University has done the same thing. Right. So there's this constant community engagement. I mean, you're going to develop 400,000 square feet. The community certainly is going to be involved. Exactly. And I think that's another level that we really interact on. And you don't, what I find is that since I walk so much, and I'm in Boston, so I'm around both of your campuses, delightfully. What I find is that I I've been in some environments where the institution separated itself from the community. I mean, actually, I attended a university like that, and it didn't intentionally do that. That's just the way that it worked out because they never engaged the community the way that they do here. I feel very comfortable going into your Starbucks and actually spending some time in your lobby. And by the way, I go and I grab my lunch over there at your campus, and I sit at the tables and I do my emails. I mean, I feel so comfortable because the way that it's designed to be open and welcoming, inviting, yeah.
That's right.
And so I think that yes, we have these programs, but you also have this physical environment that you've made part of our place, which I deeply appreciate.
Yes.
Okay. We have another question coming in, and this kind of changes gears a little bit, but it goes off kind of, Victor, what you said about some growing facilities and stuff. Given that Amazon is likely to create even faster growth in our community, how are Arlington Public Schools and the county working together to meet the growing facility needs? Dr. Murphy, I'm going to...
And I think that's a little bit of what I shared earlier. I think we have established a really strong relationship between the county and the schools with our planning teams and pay a very strict attention to what our projections are telling us, what's happening with housing, what type of housing is coming online, and then watching that very, very closely. So we've changed quite a bit on what that planning looks like. And then our CIP, which we have in place, the 10-year CIP, really has a plan that's laid out about how we're going to be meeting our growing needs. You have to remember, we're coming off an average of 800 additional students annually. This year is probably one of the years that we've had a little bit slowing with enrollment growth. So we're watching all this very carefully so that we're prepared. But we do have a plan. And we do, have all those things factored in over a 10-year horizon, and we update that regularly.
Okay.
And then, of course, the growing revenue source will allow the county to continue to invest in schools. Over the 16-year performance agreement, it's roughly $315 million net from where we are right now, which is additional, money which would be available for schools.
Taking it back to the workforce, Victor, you mentioned in the beginning, everybody knows that 25,000 job figure for Amazon employees over the next 12 years or so. But it doesn't necessarily end there. I know you've spoken in the past about there are a lot of other jobs that are going to come along with it not good, that will kind of build on that community as a whole. Talk a little bit about that one and how it impacts our workforce.
Well, normally what happens when you bring a company in, it ends up supporting other jobs in the community. For example, when a nurse gets her nursing degree, she doesn't dry clean her own clothes, she uses a dry cleaner, so that supports the small business. So there's this whole set of services that support those jobs, and we also have that in the hospitality industry. A lot of people don't know we have really the strongest hospitality industry in the Commonwealth. Last year, employed over almost 26,000 people and brought $91 million net to the county. I mean, that's really, these are industries. These are entire industries. We have the only jurisdiction with more hotel rooms than us is right across the river in D.C. And the fact of the matter is we're 20% less expensive than them. So we get a lot of traffic. So there are all these industries that are underneath that, but you also have companies that actually contract directly with or serve Amazon. And that's about a 1-to-1. So yes, there'll be these 25,000 jobs from Amazon, but we're expecting another 25,000. But they won't all locate here. Some will locate in Alexandria, some will locate in Fairfax County, some in D.C., some in Prince William, some will be further out, some will be closer in. But those jobs will all come to the region, really continuing our move forward. A lot of people do not know this, but in the last 5 years, we've added about 50,000 jobs a year. 50,000 jobs a year. To add another 1,500 to 2,000 a year actually is really not that much. It's really about 5%. It's actually less than that. And when you explain that to people, they kind of get an idea of the scale. We are this region is 6 million people living here, 3 million in the workforce. Actually Seattle has about 3.8 million in their population, about 1 million, 3 million, 4 in their workforce. So their workforce is smaller, their environment is smaller. We are huge. This is a $500 billion economy. We are the 5th largest economy in the United States. That is a very powerful machine.
Right.
It's difficult to move the needle on that machine, but this is additional fuel in our tank, which we needed.
Right.
So we get these 2,000 and maybe another 2,000 in the region. So we're now up 10% over the 50,000 over the 15, 20-year period. But the numbers are important for us because we need the diversification. That's really the most important thing that's going to come out of this is diversification. When I first came here, 4 years ago, I talked to the board about this. I said, the problem that I see is that we still have this heavy government presence. Not that that's bad, but we know that's shrinking.
Yes.
We have to replace that. You lose 17,000 jobs, you have to replace those jobs. But not only that, you have to replace them with different industries to make you more resilient. So this is going to make us more resilient, it's going to make our region more resilient, and give our kids a great place to work. So.
Well, we did have a question here that talks about how, sometimes in this region you hear that there's already more jobs than people, and that there's question of making sure we have enough workers to handle a project like this.
Well, that's what these
That's
guys are here. That's what this conversation is all about. Right. It starts in pre-K and it goes all the way to the university level. I mean, that's what really I find exciting. I think that what's happened is, I kind of look at the transportation issue in this region as kind of an analogy to what's going to happen, I think, in education and the talent pipeline environment. And I think it's really taking form now. For 20 years, this region tried to do a joint multi-jurisdictional funding and could not do it. Amazon came up and we went, we got to fix this thing. Right. And guess what? It's done now. And I mean, you're talking Virginia, D.C., and Maryland? I mean, that's really a stretch. No, it already happened. I think that's the same kind of energy we have to bring to developing our talent. Absolutely. It's the same kind of energy we need to bring to solve the housing issue. These need to be regional solutions. We should not just be talking about our universities, but also the universities across the river. University of Maryland College Park produces a lot of really great engineers. Trust me, some of them will be working here. Hopkins, pretty good university, guys. They produce some talent. They will be working here. We got to continue to think of ourselves as a region. I came from Los Angeles before I came to this region. And in Los Angeles, it thinks of itself as a region. No one knows where the Board of LA is. I mean, it's a 425 square mile city, and then it has a 4,000 square mile county. I mean, no one knows where it begins and ends. There are 86 different jurisdictions in that county. Always thought of itself as a region. I think we're just beginning to think that way here. And I think that that's what's changing. And sometimes you need an event. You need a catalyzing event. I feel like that's what this is. It's that event.
Now, we are getting a few questions, just with some question on, we've heard about the Amazon jobs being high paying, an average of $150,000 a year.
Don't leave.
Is there, but is there any concern, or are there any efforts being made to kind of assuage that income disparity? There's a concern is that may increase as a result of this kind of thing, pulling those wages up while other industries perhaps don't keep up with the demand.
Well, we're in a competitive environment, and I think the market will determine that. I don't know how else to answer that question. You're in a free market system, and markets act the way they act. I do believe this: you start offering wages like that, you get talent from the outside. And if I think that's going to happen, and then we grow talent. I think if we do what we're saying we're going to do in terms of growing the talent from pre-K all the way through, and we attract talent, I think we'll be fine.
Okay. How about small business? We're hearing from a couple of folks. I know we've gotten that question in the office in the past about making sure we continue to think about small business. Yeah. One thing that hasn't come up a lot with regards specifically to Amazon, they say it as, the giant retail leader, but what people haven't talked about is the opportunities it provides for small businesses, and then we can get into what we offer for small businesses.
So in Arlington County right now, there are about 9,000 businesses, and every year our department serves about 5,000 businesses. You're probably going like, wow, that means in 2 years you've served everyone. Well, the thing is, we actually don't just serve the small businesses in Arlington County, we serve them from throughout the region. Our services are so strong We work with the Small Business Administration. We have counselors on site that give free business counseling. They work with technology companies as well as a bakery or a pie shop. We do a lot of things to support those industries. Amazon, it kind of brings another level to that. Like that pie shop I just mentioned, they could actually create a platform for their product made in Arlington and shoot it out to the world. And that's really a thing that we haven't thought about in terms of a strategy, but that whole strategy is there. I mean, the Amazon platform is pretty amazing for small businesses because it offers a transactional environment. It offers really a way of tracking, where you're winning in sales and losing in sales. And a lot of companies don't have that ability. And also, it can relate directly to your inventory control because you don't produce it until somebody orders it. I mean, all of this really is going to improve I think the flexibility of our small businesses.
Okay. Well, I think I want to just kind of, as we start to get towards the end of our conversation, I want you all to get a little philosophical for a moment. And Dr. Matthews, I'll start with you, but what's the one thing, if you could sum it up, you really want people to take away about the educational aspect, whether it's opportunities, whether it's answering questions, what have you, that you want people to know about how the Amazon announcement is going to affect education from your perspective?
I think it's a wonderful collaborative opportunity. I think that's really the best way I could frame it. Both from a student and faculty standpoint, and you've addressed some of the issues around research, but opportunities for students with a potential employer, opportunities for Amazon employees to connect with the community at large, whether it's the schools where their children will be attending in the region, Arlington and other areas. I think this is a tremendous opportunity to really think about what it is we're doing and figure out how to get together and do it even better than we have.
Victor, same question.
Well, I really am looking forward to the innovation that it's going to bring. I think the word that I would use is innovation. I believe that it's going to bring a spirit of innovation like we've had in our past history. I mean, I like to remind people that the internet was actually created in Arlington. That most of the technology in this laptop and in our iPhones was created right here in Arlington. And I think to understand that innovative spirit has always been here, but it's been really focused on defense. Yeah. Now it's going to focus on commercialization. I believe we're going to be the next Silicon Valley. I think we're the Silicon on the Potomac, and it's just about to happen.
I'm absolutely with Victor on that one. That's the thing I think we are most excited about is the real impact it will have on innovation and the possibilities for our students entering the innovation economy in ways that really change it, really change Northern Virginia and really diversify the economy. I think we've talked a little bit about that tonight, but that will really be a game changer, I think, for the next generations of students that we graduate. So very exciting.
And we'll finish off with you, Dr. Murphy.
And I get to go last. So I'm reminded of a book that was shared with me, and actually I've shared it with Victor when he first got here, and it's titled When the Boomers Bail. And the author has a variety of different stories that he tells, but the one that sort of resonates with me, and it sort of typifies this situation, is around a coal mine. And we all know when a coal mine and there's ore coming out of the coal mine, everyone's doing well, right? All the businesses that surround that. But as soon as that coal mine dries up or no ore's coming out of it, everything sort of suffers as a result of it. I have to say, this is my story, the reason that Amazon came here is because of our public education and our higher education systems. Mm-hmm. That's what I believe. Right. There are other reasons they came here, I know, as well. But in my world, they came here because of the education. But back to my little story about the mining town, I think we have the assets on the ground, and our education system really gives the support system and diversifies what's happening across this region. And so I think it's going to be somewhat of a snowball. It's just going to continue to gather a great deal of momentum. And all of us have talked about that, the diversification, and I think that's the biggest asset or sort of the diamond in the rough that we'll be able to build off of. So again, Victor, thank you.
Thank Christina winning the team. They did it.
But I see this as an extremely large positive for everyone here in Arlington and in the region.
A very exciting time for education as we move forward with this process.
Excellent.
Well, I think that brings us to the end of another one of our Engage Arlington virtual learning series. I want to thank my entire panel who joined us here this evening, as well as all of you who joined us from your computers to ask your questions and get your thoughts answered throughout the course of this discussion. We're going to take a short break for the holidays, but then we'll be back in the new year with even more virtual learning series and in-person community listening sessions for you to make your voice heard about this announcement and have any questions you may have answered. Specifically, we'll be hosting a community listening session on January 12th, and then we'll be back here for another virtual learning series specifically focused on the housing issue on January 16th. So, and remember, you can find the entire series of this and past virtual learning series sessions on our website at arlingtonva.us. To find the entire schedule of upcoming events, you can visit arlingtonva.us/engage for the community engagement calendar. With all of that, we'll say good night. I'm Kara O'Donnell, and we'll see you next time.